a great fit, and they got him for 3 years, which is another great savvy move by the Pacers because you really maximize the value now that you're not going to have him go dip back into free agency if he outplays that contract. Also improved his three-point shooting. I think when you compare that to the guy they lost in Bojan Bogdanovic, I would much rather have Lamb on his deal than Bogdanovic on the one that he signed with Utah.
A sweetheart deal, as you called it last week. But go ahead.
No, I was just going to say exactly. Go ahead.
So speaking of the Jazz, my number 2 is Ed Davis. 2 years, $10 million with the Utah Jazz. And Ed Davis, it's no secret, was the best backup center in basketball last year, playing for the Nets. He wanted a raise, and surprisingly, only commanded $1 million more a year than his 1 year, $4 million deal he signed with the Nets last offseason. And I truly believe, had it not been for DeAndre Jordan's friendship with Kevin Durant, we could have seen Ed Davis back in Brooklyn on a similar deal because he said he wanted a raise and he earned it. But the fact that he took $5 million APY to go to Utah and back up Rudy Gobert, now the Jazz probably have the best center combo in the NBA. So Ed Davis, 2 for 10. Absolute no-brainer for the Utah Jazz. My number 3 on this list is a player I talked about earlier when we discussed the Lakers filling out their roster, and that's Quinn Cook. Because I know he's friends with Kevin Durant as well. I think everyone in the league's friends with Kevin Durant. But the way Quinn Cook stepped up in the finals among all of Golden State's injuries, when Shaun Livingston, who was released tonight by the Warriors, had nothing left offensively, Quinn Cook came in, showed he was capable. So I think 2 years, $6 million, he got the slight raise that he deserved. But coming in, I think he's going to play big minutes for Frank Vogel, especially when Rondo is either going to get hurt, get suspended, or just not be very good. So I think Quinn Cook is a huge value signing for the Lakers, so that's my number 3.
Yeah, I mean, it's undoubtedly, I'm going to be talking about Quinn Cook in a minute, but yeah, I mean, great deal. Amazing that a guy who played in the finals only commands $3 million a year, Jason. I mean, when you look at some of these other deals that got handed out, and for some of the other perimeter players, I mean, it's stunning when you look at how much more Terrence Ross is going to make than Quinn Cook. And you could talk me into having Quinn Cook over him. So I completely agree. Another Warrior who's actually staying with the Warriors is Kevon Looney. 3 for 15 is a steal. There's just no two ways about this. The Kevon Looney deal is tremendous value for the Warriors, who get a guy who just embodies the modern 5. He can defend centers, but he can shift down and defend all the way down to 2s. I think he struggles a little bit with the quicker point guards in the league, but he can really guard across the positional spectrum. Good rebounder, much better finisher around the rim towards the end of last season. There is still some upside with him, so to get him for $5 million a year, I think is tremendous. And if he could develop his game a little bit, Jason, I mean, I think this is one of the sort of underplayed things going into the season is we think of the Warriors as the team that they are, but with younger players and guys like him and guys like D'Angelo Russell, we could actually see some internal improvement for them. I think Looney showed that he had a little more in his game than what we had seen. You also look at him as a guy who just didn't play a ton of minutes during the regular season. He only played about 18 minutes a game. So you think about, you ratchet that up a little bit, what his numbers could look like, could turn out to be quite a steal there, I think. And then back to your guy, Ed Davis, who, I'll just echo most of what you said and then just throw in, Rudy Gobert was remarkably healthy last year. Don't be surprised if he misses some games this year, Jason. And if that's the case, Ed Davis could be one of the guys who looks like the biggest steal. Because if he starts 40 games or something like that with a Gobert injury, this is a guy who's going to be putting up double-doubles on a nightly basis.
Oh, absolutely. And his new teammate on the Utah Jazz is my 4th best value contract of this NBA free agency, and that's Jeff Green. 1 year, $2.5 million. I mean, Jeff Green, Ben, is the definition of a journeyman. Has gone from team to team to team, was a solid player on an abysmal Washington Wizards team last year, now gets the chance to go join the melee in the Western Conference playoff picture. I think he's a great depth signing for the Jazz. I think Quinn Snyder will know how to utilize him. He can shoot, he can defend, he can rebound. So $2.5 million for a guy like Jeff Green, a solid veteran presence, is an absolute bargain. And we're almost halfway done here with our best signings list. And my number 5 is your number 2, so that's Jeremy Lamb. for the Pacers. I don't really have too much more to add other than the fact that he is a good signing. As much as I do like Bogdanovich, you're right. I'd rather have his money on the books for that length of the deal than Bogey's in Utah. So Pacers reloading their backcourt, Lamb and Brogdon, two excellent signings for Indiana.
Yep, and then I get to the two Warriors. You already mentioned Quinn Cook. Great deal for him. I don't have much to add from what you said. I think you said it perfectly. And then the guy that I think could have the biggest impact on championship contention in the league is DeMarcus Cousins. I think his ability to recover from that Achilles and quad injury this year could determine if the Lakers are in the championship picture. If he cannot return to his previous form, I don't think the Lakers are true contenders. If he regains some of that all-star form, all of a sudden the Lakers become part of that kind of top tier, I think, with the Clippers. I do not predict he'll get back there, but 1 year for $3.5 million, Jason, I mean, my goodness. If they hit big on that, I mean, this is like putting money on one number on the roulette wheel. I mean, if it hits, it's going to hit big, Jason.
Well, they're going to need Cousins to put up numbers and not look like the shell of himself like he did in Golden State. And I'll defend him because he came back midseason and was thrust into a huge role when Durant went down, and he nearly delivered. He had 2 good games in the finals, but other than that, I think he has a lot to prove. Hopefully he'll be motivated by the presence of LeBron and being reunited with Anthony Davis. But $3.5 million for Cousins, I mean, is he just going to be a 1-year contract journeyman player for the rest of his career after the talent coming out of college back in 2010 and the max deals? That may be, off the table for him, which is quite unfortunate. So I think that's a good pick for this list because of the low value. I mean, we talked about Zubac getting $7 million a year. Cousins got 3.5 over 1. He'll be right back on the market next year, searching for a contending team to play for.
Great.
But I'm gonna move on to my number 6, and that's Wes Matthews and the Milwaukee Bucks. I mean, we talked about the Bucks kind of being a middle of the road team when you consider free agency winners and losers. I thought keeping the band back together was smart. Middleton, Brook Lopez, getting George Hill back. But I thought Wes Matthews coming in 1 year for $2.5 million. He's an excellent shooter off the bench. You already have, Dante DiVincenzo there and Pat Connaughton. So just add shooting to Mike Budenholzer's rotation. I think he's a solid veteran presence to kind of, be there for Giannis to lean on. And, if Chris Middleton's in a slump midseason, you got a vet like Wes Matthews to talk him through it. So I thought that was an excellent depth signing for the Milwaukee Bucks as they look to kind of get over that proverbial hump of the Eastern Conference and make it to a final. And then my number 7 here is your guy. I got to give Anthony Tolliver some credit going to Portland. Portland was really one of the first teams that I looked at this offseason and said, hey, they're having an excellent, excellent summer between getting Nasir Little in the draft, Kent Bazemore, Hassan Whiteside. I mean, they are loading up. With the Warriors losing so much, Tolliver can stretch the floor, he can rebound, and for $2.5 million, that is a bargain basement signing that will pay off huge for Terry Stotts.
And I didn't put him in my list, but I just want to give him a big shout out because I think Tolliver, I love that you included him here because Tolliver has just phenomenal range. He's expanded his range, which is something the stats don't show, but he's a guy now who can take a few steps beyond the three-point arc. He can do what guys like Ryan Anderson and Eric Gordon have done in Houston and really give that extra space. And for a team like Portland, those extra couple feet mean a help defender can't help on drives from McCollum and Lillard. So I love that pick, Jason. I'm going to have a repeat here, Jeff Green. I think you said it really perfectly, but I think the thing that really underpins how valuable this contract could be, Jason, is that, I might have rather had him than Bojan given the fit on the Jazz, all things considered. I just think he fits what they're trying to do better. I think he fits their positional need. But moreover, Jason, there is an outside shot that he will be starting for the Jazz because they do not have a true power forward really at this stage. So it is not incomprehensible that he will be a starter for them. So that's just tremendous value. 1 year, $2.5 million. My goodness. You just can't do much better than that for a guy who could be starting games for you. And then I loved the Willie Cauley-Stein move for the Warriors. I mean, think about everything I basically said about Kevon Looney, and then just imagine a guy who's even more proven than he is, and he's only getting 2 years, 4.4. I mean, there's low risk signings and then there's no risk signings. This is a no risk signing. Getting a guy like Willie Cauley-Stein, who's an energy big man now. The problem was last year he was an energy big man who, Jason, didn't play with a lot of energy. That's a problem, it turns out. And I think that kind of wore out his welcome in Sacramento. But this is a guy who can rim run. He can play a little bit of defense when he's engaged. He's got a little bit more to his game on offense than I think some people realize. He's a little bit better of a passer than I think most people give him credit for. Very interested to see how he does in this Warrior system where he's not going to have to do as much. His role is going to be a little bit more defined. And I would be interested to see if he could kind of take over that JaVale McGee role that he inhabited when he was with the Warriors. So really like that deal as well, Jason. And we're kind of getting to the home stretch. So let me turn it back over to you.
Well, I'm going to say this about Willie Cauley-Stein. I think he will match Cousins' production from last season at half the cost because Cousins was paid $5 million on a one-year deal. Cauley-Stein's at $2 for $4.5, the second year being a player option. So for half the money, he might give Golden State just as much production as Cousins did. So
phenomenal point.
My eighth is Kevon Looney. I mean, you're high on him. I'm growing on him. There's really not much more to say. 3 for 15, solid. I think, he is a beneficiary of Steve Kerr's system. You've seen Kerr's ability to develop guys and, with the fast pace the Warriors play at, I think Looney's a perfect fit. It's a shame he got injured in the finals because, he was out there contributing in a big way and helping Golden State kind of fend off Toronto's firepower. But I'm going to go to my number 9 here on this list, and it's my big deal. I know you had Kawhi as your number 1, but I have Al Horford on here. And I know people may call me crazy because 4 for 109 for a player that's Horford's age, have been in the league a long time. But he brings so much to the table, both on and off the court. He can shoot. He's a very finessed player. He can still rebound. And he brings so much leadership and character to the locker room. And when you have a Sixers locker room that has personalities like Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons, I think Horford and Tobias Harris will be the two constants in this locker room, keeping things in order. So the Sixers are paying Horford not only to still be productive on the offensive side of the floor, rebound, block shots, and just be a good overall teammate, but he has to set the tone in the locker room as well. So I thought Horford, 4 for 109, is a luxury signing for the Sixers, but I ultimately do think it will pay dividends in the long run for Philly.
And I want to just defend this because you're right. I think some people are gonna say that's crazy. I think you're absolutely right for a number of reasons. One, this 109 number, Jason, isn't even a real number. There's a lot of incentives in there. His last year, I believe, is only partially guaranteed. So there's a lot of reasons to like this beyond that. On top of that, I think people forget, because he's a big man, that his best skills as he ages are going to be his defense, which he can play center, so he's going to fit in there, his passing, and his shooting. None of those things are going to really go away, Jason. He's going to get a little bit slower. He's going to become more of a 5 than a 4. I think that's fine, and I completely agree. And then we have a retread here. My number 9 was your number 6, which is Wesley Matthews. I said it with Jeff Green. I'll say it here with Matthews. He has a pretty good chance of starting for the Bucks. Anytime you get a starter for $2.5 million, you're getting a bargain. I mean, enough said. Great shooter, going to be a good fit with Giannis. One thing that is interesting to watch, Jason, Wesley Matthews, here's a little insider tidbit, but Wesley Matthews is big on shooting threes above the top of the key. He likes taking them from the top. He does not like them as much from the corners, which is the opposite of most good three-point shooters. I think that will be something kind of interesting to watch with the Bucks, is how they position him, because he's a guy who likes to get out more towards the top of the key, more from the further points from the line, rather than those short corners where Coach Bud usually kind of stations his three-point shooters. Be interesting to see where they put him and if he's comfortable in that. The other guy here I have, Enes Kanter, 2 years for $10 million-ish, so a little less. I love this move just because, again, he's a starter that you're paying $5 million a year. It's great value for the Celtics. He fits in nicely with what they want to do. They really needed some rebounding. He's going to give them that. I just think he'll be a good fit in their system. It will be interesting, though, Jason. I have to add this caveat to see how he does outside of the Blazers system where they let him just drop back. Now that he goes to the Celtics, will Stevens still let him be kind of a drop-back center? Or are they going to have him be a little bit more aggressive, which is something he has never shown a real ability to do? we shall see.
Yeah, I think Cantor's scoring ability kind of